Came to a funny realization the other day. By the other day, I mean 2 hours ago. What? Came to the realization a couple hours ago that the content I'm placing onto this channel is awfully similar to content that used to be available on another channel by the same name, more or less, that my friends at school used to take the piss out of me for because it was unnecessarily sincere. And they were right. It was very stupid, especially when you consider the fact that it was for primarily a D&D project. But it made me think more about the fact that there's not much room in modern priorities within friendships for there to be any sort of applauding or positive acknowledgement for that kind of a vulnerability. And I don't know what to make of that. I've come to a realization in a similar time frame to the realization I had earlier. That realization being that there seems to be some direct parallel between how vulnerable you are prepared to be around other people and how open and how brutally honest you are about yourself with other people, the more likely you are to create deeper connections with those people. Now, that by itself would suggest that everyone, given the appropriate time and space within which to do so, would jump at the opportunity of manifesting the deepest connections possible, but it seems as though in a lot of cases the complete opposite has happened. That I put down to the fact that the deeper and the more vulnerable you are around other people, the greater the pain is felt when that level of vulnerability isn't reciprocated, or is outright rejected or repulsed. And that's painful, man. I think it's painful for anyone. I think it's painful even for the people who suggest otherwise. About a year ago, or roughly that amount of time, it used to be my mantra, or the way in which I led my life, really, that I was very much an amalgamation of the people that I know. Because that is true to a certain extent, right? There's always going to be some truth to the idea of you picking out the parts of your personality that you want to show to other people, and whatever parts of this personality you end up showing will be dependent on the type of attributes you want to display to those people, which will presumably be dependent upon the kind of attributes they have and the ways in which you want to try and make a connection. And I'm not going to go as far as to say that the virus and lockdown made it a year in which I was completely without people, because that isn't true at all. I was able to meet people on several occasions in a law-abiding fashion, and there have been people I've talked to on a regular basis through the internet on an almost daily schedule. But it's effectively been a time in which this exercise of social back and forth, of knowing and acquainting myself with other people, and subsequently knowing and acquainting myself with myself, has effectively ground to a near halt. Now I'm in a situation in which I'm very scared of external judgment. I'm very scared of every kind of social interaction, purely because of the possibility and the previous track record of those friendships going awry. It hasn't really felt like at any point during my university years that I was able to connect with people authentically. But the point that I really want to make isn't so much a whole moping about how well my friendships are going at any given time, because that truly is up to me. I can determine that. I can choose whether things are better or worse in that regard. The bit that I want to get at is that in this consultation of my own friendships and this observation of other people's friendships going successfully and creating some decent life out of it, I started to get confused and concerned about what it is I'm actually meant to be valuing my life upon. Because a lot of people will say stuff like, it's not about what you do, it's about the people you know, and that it's far less about the mode of the activity and far more about the people that you spent the time doing that activity with. And it's so confusing, not because that's necessarily a wrong or a right answer, but because that approach to life, and any approach to life, doesn't appear to present itself as particularly the right answer. And I never feel as though I have the confidence or the faculty to know what's right for anyone, let alone what's right for me. A lot of people will think of it on a basis of what they want to say they did and didn't do while they're on their deathbed. That feels like an excuse for a lot of superficiality. No life is any better or worse in the scope of the whole, in the scope of absolutely everything if they went to more or less concerts or drank more or less or read more or less. Not only do I not know what sort of modality I want to implement value into my life, I do not know for certain what the correct parameters of value are in the first place. It's a tough one to think about, and I don't know. I'm probably just tired. I've been putting off this politics essay for the longest time. I fucking hate thinking about it, and I certainly hate writing about it. But I'm certainly keeping to my word in terms of wanting to be more comfortable in front of a camera, because that should, in turn, related to the content of this video, how funny, that should, in turn, oil the gears a little bit when it comes to presenting myself in front of other people, because they are similar in that way, I suppose. So, that's first attempt at on-camera vulnerability checked. Cheers.